Hello, friends and gamers. Thanks again for listening and watching on YouTube. So today's topic is about sex, relationships, and video games. Because it's Wednesday, it's my favorite day, it's hump day. So today's topic is a take on an article I saw on AskMen.com. If you've ever been there, it's kind of like a Maxim magazine type of website. Dating tips, sex tips for men, how to dress better, all of those things that men are interested in. Or I guess they're interested in. But occasionally there's some interesting stuff over there. And the article that I was looking at was about red flags. How to spot a red flag in a relationship. So I thought, you know what? Sometimes I get so invested in playing video games that it's almost like I'm in a relationship with these video games. I think I've had previous YouTube videos where I'm talking about like you're falling in love with these games. And sometimes the games feel like they betray you, like they've cheated on you. So I thought, hey, if the red flags in relationships exist, could they exist for a video game? So let's get into it. First off, I had to figure out how does this translate? And I thought, like I said, you're making a commitment to play the game. You spend hours with it, right? So you have to make a commitment to a relationship. So that seems the same. And also in relationships, there are phases. There's the romance phase in the beginning, that infatuation where you just can't wait to see that person, to hear them speak. When you're away from them, you think about them constantly. We all know that doesn't last. And then there's the stability phase. That's when you're both very comfortable with each other. You support each other. You might start using the word best friend to describe your partner. And then hopefully if the relationship is going well, you'll end up in that commitment and bliss phase where you've actually created a life together. And you have the stability. You've already gone through the romance, but now you're just enjoying the time that you have together. You feel like there's not a single thing that can make your life better than just being with this person. And so I'm thinking, how can that translate to video games? Well, with the video game, there's the romance phase. When you first buy it, you've waited in line on launch day to pick it up from your local video game retailer, or it came in the mail, or however you purchase these games, but you're just excited. Everything about this game is amazing. It's all new and bright and colorful, and you're learning the controls. When you're away from it, you're thinking, oh, how can I rank up? How can I do this? You're looking for tips on how to play it better. And then if you're really enjoying the game, the next step is the stability phase, where you just you enjoy playing the game. You found your groove, whether it's competitive or just to relax and enjoy the game with friends. But either way, you know what you're going to get. You know when you log on to that game and you fire up your console, you know what you're going to get, and you're always happy with it. And then maybe the bliss phase. That game you've had for years and years and years. You know what you're going to get. You don't ask too much of it. It doesn't ask anything of you. And you're just happy with it forever. My favorite game that would fall into that category is ESPN 2K5. ESPN NFL 2K5. That's for the original Xbox. It's a football game, and I think it's the perfect football game ever made for the console. You'll find people on both sides of the fence of this, but if you really want to if you really want a nerd geek debate, start talking ESPN NFL 2K5 and Madden and start comparing the differences. But that's not what this podcast is about. That's not what this YouTube video is about. This is about red flags. So that's an example of when it works. So what are some of the red flags in video games? I think a red flag in a video game is a signal that the game you're playing isn't necessarily the game for you. And you should stop playing that game and move on before you waste any more of your time. Because in the long run, you'll probably end up missing out on other great games because you're spending time with this one. First red flag in a relationship or video games, start with the relationship first. You're older or she's older. Okay? Now this is one where it's not necessarily a red flag between the two of you in a relationship because, and look, it's whether or not you love each other, whether or not there's a reason to be together. The problems usually arise because it's a challenging relationship because how other people are going to view it. And society already has some expectations on age and relationships. So they may put some undue pressure or stress on your relationship because they see it as unhealthy, or there might be something wrong with it. And you might spend your time constantly trying to defend your relationship. That's energy that's taking away from improving your relationship. So that's not a good thing. It could be a red flag only if you're met with so many outside stresses and challenges that you can't effectively concentrate on your relationship. You're just being bombarded with things like, well, he's taking advantage of you if he's older, or if he's younger, you should be. I'm hypothetically speaking to the woman in the relationship. If he's younger than you, you should be worried because he's going to outgrow you. You're not going to seem as sexy to him in a few years. Those are things that people say. They do say them. So again, it could be a red flag. And how does that relate to a video game? There's nothing wrong with playing an older video game. Okay? Or if you're an older player playing a new game. You may have just discovered, like myself, I'm an older player. I'm playing video games. I'm just discovering video games. I talked about how when I started playing video games as a kid, but then, life happens and I was in the Marines and I stopped playing video games. I think my wife bought me a PlayStation when I was stationed at Camp Pendleton. I believe we were just married. Maybe it was for Christmas. I had already gone on one deployment or was about to go on deployment, and I was playing PlayStation and football games with the other guys that I was deployed with. And I fell in love with video games again. So I wanted the video games because I wanted to practice so I could kick their butt next time we were all, on the ship together. And she bought me Metal Gear Solid with the PlayStation, and I was just blown away. I was like, I had no idea video games could be like this. It's very cinematic. And so then it was my last duty station. I was stationed in Maryland, and I decided I was looking for a new football game. I couldn't decide whether to get Madden or NFL Fever or ESPN 2K5, and I couldn't even decide whether or not to get a PlayStation 2 or an Xbox. So I did all my research, and it came down to I saw the reviews, the critical reviews, based on features that I wanted, and I bought an Xbox and ESPN NFL 2K5, and I didn't regret it. Now from there, I just played Madden when Madden would come out each year because ESPN lost the NFL license. And so the next thing I'm playing Madden. But then I kind of, stopped playing Madden. It was just an occasional thing. I would go over to a buddy's house. We'd have a couple of beers. I would sit next to him and play Madden. I had Xbox Live. I didn't know what it was used for. I never played online with anybody. Because the guys I knew who played Madden, I could just go to their house or they could come over to mine and we would just sit there and have a few beers. I remember one day we all took a day off together and we set up a tournament in somebody's house and we were playing the NCAA game. And it was a great day. It was a lot of fun. But that was really it. It wasn't until I upgraded to the 360 again to buy a football game, and then I found Halo. I found Halo because I bought Halo Combat Evolved off the Xbox store because I was aware that it existed, but I'd never really wanted to go buy it. And then I saw it there. I didn't have to pull out my wallet or drive to the store, so I just downloaded it and bought it. And to be honest, I think maybe every available opportunity, my oldest daughter and I would just sit down and play co-op and just play through Halo Combat Evolved. It was so much fun. And that's where it's been ever since. Now I've just been hooked on these first-person shooters and in video games and this console thing. It just took off. Before it was just an occasional, maybe on the weekend. Every now and then I would play. Now it's my main hobby. So is there anything wrong with that? I think there's only something wrong with it if I let it. If I look at it like, hey, I'm an older player, I'm playing video games. It's only a problem if I'm constantly trying to defend myself that I shouldn't be playing this game. Or if you're playing an older game. Let's say I go back and I'm playing one of those older Madden games or football games. It's not a problem with me unless I let it. Unless I feel like I shouldn't be playing it, right? So it could be a red flag. In a relationship, another red flag is you're cheating or she's cheating. This should be obvious in a relationship, right? I mean, if you're stepping out, there's clearly something wrong in the relationship. So I don't really need to get into that. But for video games, it's a hard one. How do you cheat on a video game? You cheat when you are thinking about another video game while you're playing the game that you just bought, or whatever newest game you thought you were going to play. If you're thinking about another game or wishing you were playing another game, that's probably a red flag that you should just move on entirely. And I know sometimes there's an investment up front. Titanfall comes out. You've spent a lot of time reading about it, watching videos on it. You spent the $60. You go ahead and buy the season pass as soon as it arrives. There's a monetary investment. You don't want to feel like you've made the wrong decision. Even though when you're playing it, you might be thinking about Call of Duty Ghost. That's probably a red flag that you should just put the game away. Don't play it because you feel like you have to play it because you spent money on it. And I think that's what a cheating red flag in video games is. You're thinking about other games. You would rather be playing another game, and you're only playing this game currently because you feel like you've invested already in it. You're cheating. You're cheating yourself. In a relationship, another red flag could be you're losing sight of yourself and your own identity. Okay, so guys, we've all had that friend, and sometimes you may have been at the center of this as well, where your buddy is spending too much time with his girl. He doesn't hang out with his friends anymore. You don't know the guy. And then when he comes around, he's distracted. He doesn't seem like the same person. If you're that guy in the relationship and you are spending that much time, maybe it's a red flag because you are losing part of your identity. Your identity shouldn't completely change just because you're in a relationship. You should still be who you are. If you had hobbies and things you like to do, it shouldn't change because of the relationship. Don't alter your personality. If you're a crass guy and always cracking, crude jokes, and then all of a sudden you're not that guy anymore, I know some women would say, hey, it's time for you to mature. But if they have to tell you to do that and they force you to do that, that's an unhealthy relationship. If they don't like you spending time with your friends because they don't like the influence they have on you, that's a bad sign. Because that's who you are. You were that person before they met you. Don't let them change you. Don't let the argument that, they're making a better person of you, guilt you into losing part of yourself. So how does that relate to video games? I think in video games, if you're playing a game so much that you're not paying attention to real life, that's a problem. Games can be addicting, and I get it. But if life is passing you by and you're obsessing about this game, in the long run, you're going to resent that this game took so much of your life, or it took so much of your time away. And it could be the same thing. Let's say you have other hobbies or interests, or hell, at work. If you spend more time playing the game because you feel compelled to or addicted to, and you're missing out on other opportunities, that's a red flag. That's a red flag, buddy. You should not be playing that game. And sometimes the game can be amazing. It can be fun, just like that girlfriend. She is so freaking hot. She is so damn sexy. Oh my God, I'm never going to meet a girl this incredible ever again. Don't let that fool you. It could still be a red flag because you're going to resent it in the long run. Someone once said, I've heard this before, where you see a really beautiful woman, and there's like three guys standing around, and two of them are just, they're eyeballing her and saying things like, oh man, check her out. Third guy just looks at her and says, yeah, she's somebody else's problem. Well, it seems strange, but yeah, there's some guy at home that's pissed off, that when people get into a relationship after a while, if it's an unhealthy relationship, there are just things that grate on your nerves. And at a certain point, it doesn't matter how sexy things are. All you're thinking about is the negative energy in the room. So yeah, it can be It can be unhealthy. And in video games, it can be the same way. This game is so amazing and so much fun and so addictive. But if it's taking up all your damn time, brother, you've got to move on. Enough is enough. A red flag in a relationship could be you can't talk to her. This seems weird, but it's a red flag. If you can't bring up certain issues with your girl without it turning into just this heated argument, things are being thrown, and it gets personal, and to the point where you just know, hey, I'm not going to broach this topic. This area is off limits. I can't talk to her about this. That's unhealthy, and that's a red flag. Things should not be that way. And it can be small. Sometimes you just know little things set you off. You know that it grates on your nerves how she eats soup. She slurps the spoon. Like mine, I tend to slurp coffee. Or I make this weird noise with my lips. That could get on people's nerves. But if every time it's brought up to me, I just lose my mind and go into a rage, rant-fueled tantrum, well, that's not good. Resentment will build up over time. So how's that like playing a video game? If you can't talk to the developers, if you know that you can't reach out on a community forum and get an answer, that's a huge red flag. When there are issues with the game that you're playing and there's no way to express your grievance with the game, no one's listening, that's a red flag. You're trying to find stuff on YouTube, info about the game, walkthroughs, or forum. If there's nowhere to talk about this game, that's probably a red flag because frustrations are going to mount and you're not going to have any resolution. It's not going to get better in the long run, no matter how much you want it to. That's a red flag. This relationship you're having with your video game is not healthy. You need to break up. You need more time for yourself. Now, this is the opposite of, you losing your identity. Sometimes, if you're constantly finding excuses to not be with your girlfriend, that's a red flag. If you're always hanging out with your friends and you only call her up whenever you want sex, basically, that's probably a red flag that there really isn't a strong foundation for your relationship to begin with. Yeah, so how is that related to video games? Well, in a video game, if you find yourself playing other games more often than the new game that you just bought, well, that could be a red flag. It was probably a poor decision in the first place to go ahead and buy that game because, let's face it, it honestly means, just like the cheating, it means you're not happy with this game. You're actually stepping out and playing another game more. So just put it away. Stop wasting your time. I mean, just like the hanging out with friends. I mean, it's okay every now and then. Spend time happy hour with your buddies. Poker nights. Things like that. Go to a couple sporting events. It's okay to have hobbies that don't include your wife or girlfriend. It's at a point when you're constantly making those decisions. Your wife wants to go out and do something on Sunday, but you have a tea time, and you're not going to cancel it. I mean, at a certain point, you have to say which one is more important. It doesn't mean you have to give up golf entirely, but come on, dude. Priorities, right? If you would rather play golf, then the relationship really isn't that important to you, and you should probably move on. Because in the long run, it's just distracting you from the other activities that you want to do. The same thing with a video game. Sometimes, what if you went out and bought an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4, or you upgraded your PC to a gaming PC, you spent a lot of money and you're invested, but the thing just ends up sitting in the corner, and you're not really using it. Just be honest with yourself and realize, I shouldn't have made this purchase. I'm not into video gaming anymore. This isn't really what I wanted. Be honest. You're not stuck. You don't have to be forced to continue to spend money on this. What if you're holding things back in a relationship? You don't want to introduce your girlfriend to your friends or your family. You have secrets that you can't share with your girlfriend. That's bad. That should be really, really bad, right? You should never be ashamed, right? You should never be holding anything back. If you have some sort of deep, dark secret, that's probably not a good thing just in general. But clearly it doesn't mean you have to broadcast your dirty laundry to the entire world. But the person you're in a relationship with, intimate relationship with, you should be able to share nearly anything and everything and not feel stressed or afraid of being judged for it. A healthy relationship, remember, you want to get to that stability phase where they support you. They help you through stressful and challenging times. You can divulge secrets to them. For a video game, it could be as simple as you're playing this game, but you don't really tell your friends you're playing it. You bought this game and you don't want to play it with other people. You don't want to share it with anybody else. You're playing it. You spend 4 hours in an evening playing it, but you don't want to have a conversation with anybody about it. You want to keep it a secret. That's not good. That's not healthy. That's not healthy on any circumstances. I really can't imagine a case where you'd be doing that. Other than, I don't know, I'm thinking about the game titles I have. I don't know. I have Star Wars Legos. I guess I don't tell that many people that I play that game. But I'm not ashamed about it, I guess. It just doesn't come up. Here I am making excuses. It just doesn't come up. I don't want to play with anybody else. It's just me in my alone time. Just me and Lego Star Wars, man. Good times. Oh, here's a big red flag for relationships. What about if you have a stronger libido than your partner? You know, it's understandable that after the romance phase that sex does fade in a relationship. It's not going to be, you're not going to be bunnies 24/7 all the time. Okay, so that's normal. It's okay to kind of get into a normal routine and eat 3 meals a day again, get 8 hours of sleep, go back to work, right? It's okay. It's okay to move on from that phase. But at a certain point, if you're having to constantly coax your girlfriend, partner, whatever, into having sex, that's probably not healthy. You know, and like I said, it's okay if you're not in the mood all the time. But if months and years go by and you're just constantly trying to have sex and it's just not happening, that's probably not a healthy relationship. Something is not right and should probably be fixed, or you should just move on altogether. This seemed to be the hardest one to compare to video games at first, but after a little bit of thought, I realized the libido, the sex part of the video game is, or the wanting to have sex, maybe could be translated to, you want more from this game than it was designed to offer. You're already enjoying the game. You want to be with it all the time, or as much as you possibly can in a healthy way. But if you are constantly talking about the game with your friends and you're saying things like, it would be so much better if Halo had this feature, or if it offered X, Y, and Z, that's a red flag. You'll spend more time complaining about the game than actually enjoying it. And that's exactly my relationship with Halo 4. Every time I play it, I'm constantly thinking about things that could have been in the game to make it more appealing or more fun. I enjoy the core element of the game, but I just see areas where, why didn't it have this, or why didn't it have X? Why didn't it have a progression system or a better ranking system, or the user interface could have been done a little bit better. If I'm making too many demands of the developers in the game that just aren't ever going to materialize, that's unhealthy. That's a red flag. This game is not going to be satisfying in the long run. So you should probably spend your time doing something else, which is what I did. I just moved on to Call of Duty. And then discovered Gears of War, which is an older game that I felt embarrassed about and didn't want to talk about and kept it a secret from people. No, I didn't keep it a secret. I played that game with people. But you see where there's just all these red flags in my entire gaming life right now. That's why this topic appeals to me. It feels like all of these things directly translate to how I relate to video games. These are all red flags. I shouldn't be playing video games. Or maybe I should just seek help. I need help, people. Can someone help me with my gaming problem? And that I just complain too much and want to rant about games instead of enjoy them? Oh, what if you in your relationship you're not giving her enough attention? Meaning that she just requires, she's high maintenance. She requires a lot of attention. Or when you're out, she's just openly flirting with other guys in front of you, flirting with everybody. She wants attention all the time and she can't ever get enough. That's probably unhealthy. You will spend your time in a lot of fights. Believe me, I've been there. That used to be the model of every single girlfriend I dated. Again, it just went back to my own jealousy and insecurity, but I was just constantly watching these girls flirt and a lot of times just cheat on me. And not realizing, dude, just leave, right? Just leave the relationship. I had this one girlfriend while I was living in Tampa, and I used to drive back to Northwest Florida, to where I grew up, maybe once a month to go visit her. And oh man, the conversations that I would have at parties with guys. They tell me, "Oh yeah, your girlfriend, she was at this parties last week. Yeah, I think she was blowing this dude. Yeah, like right around the corner in front of everybody else could see it." What do I do in response to that? I go and try and beat the shit out of the guy that was receiving the blowjob, rather than take a step back and realize, man, this girl cannot be trusted. This is a bad situation. No, I thought this is an opportunity for me to be tough. It was so stupid. So much time and effort wasted on relationships like that. It wasn't until I was older that I realized how much time is wasted on that type of relationship. When I was on deployment, maybe in 2001, one of the younger Marines came to me, and he was having trouble. He had just gotten married before we went on deployment. He was maybe 19, maybe his wife was 18 or 19 years old. And yes, that is young to get married. It doesn't mean that it can't succeed, but there will be challenges. And he had dated her in high school, but now he was in the Marines and he was deployed. So we're away for 6 months, halfway around the world. He's telling me that she's spending a lot of time with this friend from high school who's a guy, and he's getting jealous. He doesn't know how to talk to her because he only gets so much time on the phone to make phone calls with her back home. And, this is the time internet was really slow just in general, but it's really slow when you're trying to send messages off of a Navy ship back home. Well, my advice to him was simply, it's like, look, this is really going to be hard to grasp, but maybe this is just an opportunity to go ahead and be single again. You've dated this girl pretty much your entire young life. Why don't you just enjoy things for a little while? When you get back home, you can go out to nightclubs and meet lots of different girls. Have a good time. I was like, I think this is a blessing in disguise. Just move on. Of course, he couldn't accept that. He was just very jealous, and I lost touch with him after we got back to San Diego. I don't know what happened to his relationship. But I understand that it's hard to move on. But it could be a blessing in disguise. Look, if she's that high maintenance and you're that jealous all the time, well, just let it go, man. Just let it go. So how does that relate to games, I guess? If you're playing a video game and the gaming progression requires such a grind, and that if you feel like if you don't play this game every single day for hours on end, you're going to somehow be punished for it, that you're going to be underpowered and other people are going to rank up ahead of you, that's a sign that the game could possibly be unhealthy. But again, you're going to resent this game in the long run because you felt forced to spend so much time playing it. And it's that forced attention that you're going to resent, that's not going to make you happy. It will turn to real anger later. Sometimes you just have to make those breaks early on and Band-Aid it, bro. Just rip it off. Or removing the Band-Aid, I should say. So what happens in a relationship when she lets herself go? This could be a tricky one. Because look, women come in all shapes and sizes, and they are beautiful. They are all beautiful. So letting yourself go doesn't necessarily mean gaining weight, losing weight, that sort of thing. And people age. So I'm not talking about that. But what I'm talking about is you were attracted to this person in the beginning, and then they just completely stop taking care of themselves, meaning they aren't concerned with their appearance or their own health anymore. That's what I mean by letting themselves go. That's a sign. That's a sign the relationship can be unhealthy, because you are eventually going to have to bring that topic up. You're going to feel frustrated enough that you say something like, "Hey, can you do your hair up or something? Or it looks like you could probably go on a diet." That's not going to go over well. That is not a good conversation to have. Not good at all. You don't want that. So in relationships, it is a red flag if somebody starts to let themselves go. And guys are this way. I mean, you can tell a married guy because he's got the belly. It's like after 5 years of marriage, every dude has a gut. I mean, it's just, you just don't care anymore. You're not on the market anymore. And let's be honest, guys, all the things that we love in this world contribute to that gut. I mean, the beer that we drink, the bacon and the burgers. Man, I should just call it the 3 Bs. I mean, that's what does it. And like I said, you don't feel compelled to go out there and, lift weights and run to look good for other people, because you're done. You're off the market, man. You're retired. You're retired from the scene. So in a video game, how can a video game let itself go? I think if a game launches with a lot of developer support and there's a lot of patches and title updates in the beginning, and then things slowly trail off, I think that's a sign that it's probably time to put that game away, because it's just going to get worse and no one's going to come back to fix it. It's not like all of a sudden, without a year of support, the developers are going to upgrade their servers for this game, or finally issue a patch that prevents some sort of, glitching or boosting that's plagued the community for better part of a year. That's just not going to happen. The developers shelved the project. No one's really working on it. It's time to move on before you get your feelings hurt. There was a game I was playing for Facebook. Yeah, I got into the whole Facebook game years ago. Someone sent me some requests to play, I think, Mafia Wars and a Pirates game. And of course I chose the Pirates game because I love pirates. Freaking love pirates, man. And the Pirates game had all kinds of problems and glitches, and people were manipulating the code because it was written in Java, and it was just real easy to mod, and things were all crazy. But I spent a lot of time playing this game, and then I felt so betrayed. One, the developers completely just abandoned the game. It was just a free-for-all online. But then they just took it down. It just disappeared. You couldn't log on anymore. Man, was I pissed. I was so pissed because I'd spent so much time with this game, and then it was just gone. How could they do that to me? So I'm saying a red flag is that once you start seeing that developer support start to trail off, man, it's time to move on. It really is. Got to be strong, man. You got to be strong. Don't stick around till the very end. There's no badge in that. There's no honor in that. So what if in a relationship you or her jealousy is out of control? It's okay to be jealous. A little bit of jealousy is healthy because you care. That's okay. What I'm talking about is if you can't leave your girlfriend's presence for more than a few hours without her calling and texting you and wondering where you are because she's certain that there's women out there that are trying to sleep with you, that's unhealthy. And the same thing goes for men. If you need to be within a line of sight of her at all times because you just know some guy's going to tackle her and have sex with her and she's going to enjoy it too, which, that's what you're also afraid of. Well, that's unhealthy relationship right there. That should be easy to spot, right? But some guys fall into this trap that they think, oh, my woman cares so much. And you're getting an ego boost thinking that, yeah, she knows I'm so good looking that every single woman that sees me wants to just have sex with me. I have that control over people. Look, man, it's like, put your ego aside. This is not a healthy relationship. You're going to resent that after a while because basically what it means is there's a lack of trust in the relationship. And she doesn't believe your intentions when you say, hey, I'm going to go golf with my buddies. I'm going to happy hour with some guys from work. This is a business. I have a business dinner lined up. I need to make some contacts, networking, whatever. And if she shows up or texts you and calls you constantly, it's just not good. You're going to resent that. It's not healthy, man. So how can games cause this kind of effect? I think in gaming, it's more about how we identify ourselves as gamers. If you're playing a certain genre of game, a first-person shooter, or if you play competitively, and then all of a sudden you want to play, I don't know, Plants vs. Zombies. That just came out for Xbox One. And the people you're playing with, somehow you're betraying the community because you've switched games or you're spending more time with one than the other. That's not healthy. From the developer standpoint, if they are marketing this game and presenting it as it's us versus them, if they're telling you that Halo people don't play Call of Duty and Call of Duty people don't play Halo, or Battlefield versus Call of Duty, that's actually a better analogy. If they're marketing it to put you in one camp, make you declare, if you play Battlefield, it will hurt us. It will hurt EA if you go and play Call of Duty. That's not healthy. You're being manipulated. That's not good. That's a red flag. The game can still be fun. In all these cases, the game can be fun. In all these cases, these relationships can have good times. You can be attracted to each other. The sex can be great, but there are red flags. You have to be on the lookout for them because in the long run, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 years go by, and then you realize, I could have saved myself a lot of time and effort if I would have just left this a long time ago. Because you are trying to get to that point. Move the phases along. Get past the romance. A really good romance stage does not mean your relationship's going to have a really good bliss stage. It doesn't. It just means early on the relationship was awesome. You want to get to the stability where you support each other. When you're playing video games, the video game shouldn't distract you from what's really important. The video game should serve its purpose. It's a form of enjoyment, an opportunity to socialize. That's the stability that it provides. And it's not fraught with stresses. And that bliss stage, the almighty holy grail of life, you want to achieve that, right? We want to sit and meditate and find Zen in our relationships and in video games. Well, you're only going to get there if you pick the right horse. If you make the right decision early on. And you don't want to miss out on other opportunities. So spot those red flags, brother. That's what you have to do. Thanks for listening. Leave a comment, subscribe, share, tweet. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a comment. And as always, don't be afraid to have this discussion. Spot those red flags. And have a great hump day. Humping. Thanks again. I'm Gunner. And this was the Gamers on Tap podcast.